Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is Friday, July 20th. This is the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. I'm your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. Guys, what's going on?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Not too much. Another day. Happy to have the gang all together yet again. It's a good sign of things to come. And as we move closer to the training camp, you guys, as excited as I am for football to be right around the corner, I can't freaking wait. It's that auction draft on Tuesday hyped me up way too much. I'm so ready. like I was kind of coasting, and we talked about this after the show. I was just coasting. I was good to go. I was all right. I'm just kind of mosey on into it, keep the ball rolling. No, I'm hyped. Let's go. I'm ready. Let's do our drafts. Come on, draft season. So now we gotta wait a freaking month. Yeah, exactly. And now we got to wait for basically a month until our draft. So what was our draft, like the 23rd or something? I don't know. Either way, I can't wait. I'm ready. So today we're going to be doing a bit of a recap show. We're going to be recapping our mock draft. We're going to be recapping some of the news we've missed over the last couple episodes because we've been various things have happened, jumping right into the draft on Tuesday, and recapping, doing some mailbag questions. So we have a lot to get to today. Only so much time to do it, so I guess let's dive right on in. As always, make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening. We appreciate the support. It helps sustain the show, helps us keep doing what we're doing. Ratings and reviews help us out a ton as well. If you really enjoy the product, please give us a rating and a review. Helps us out more than we can say. Or if you want to support the show in a financial way, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. Help us keep doing what we're doing. Helps us keep these lights on. And I guess with that, let's get right to it, guys. Let's do our recap of our auction mock draft. Now, we only got through the first, was it 4 rounds, I think, during the main show on Tuesday. So let's break down our teams and let's talk about them now that we've had a chance to sit back, let it marinate, and see what our thoughts are. Now, my team, which I still love, by the way, I don't know about you guys, but I love my team. I have quarterback Aaron Rodgers. I got running backs David Johnson and Melvin Gordon. That alone is enough of a reason to love auction drafts. Getting 2 first-round running backs, it's so good. I got wide receivers Allen Robinson and Alshon Jeffrey. I got tight end Jimmy Graham. In my flex position, I have wide receiver Stephon Diggs. I have the Baltimore Ravens as my defense and Justin Tucker as my kicker. On my bench, I have running backs Lamar Miller, Jamal Williams, and Isaiah Crowell, and wide receivers Marvin Jones, Robert Woods, and Michael Crabtree. Guys, what are your thoughts on my team? Shortcomings, things you like, things you don't like, anything in particular that stands out to you?
Well, one thing I really like, I know I nominated him, but you got a real good deal on Jimmy Graham. I think this is going to be one of the best years of his career as far as touchdowns. I don't know about yardage and everything like that, but touchdown-wise, I think it's going to be one of his best years. You got, like you said, the David Johnson and Melvin Gordon, those are 2 studs right there.
Yep.
And then your boy Stephon Diggs in the flex. You can't beat that. Your bench. I really like Robert Woods and Marvin Jones. I could kind of do without the rest of that. Michael Crabtree, he's always been consistent, but he's going to be in a new face and new place, so you really don't know about that. But the rest of your team is pretty solid, man.
I think that's what knocks him out of being like a 4th-round talent or 3rd-round, 4th-round like last year and down to being, a much later-round pick. I got him for $1, which, hey, I'll take it. $1 for a guy. And I will concede he'll be a better option in PPR. I think he's going to get force-fed the ball, but we'll see how it plays out. Jason, do you have any thoughts?
The only in your starting lineup, the only question mark for me is Alshon Jeffrey, just because you got injury history there, and
right.
And it's a very wide open field in Philadelphia. They will spread the ball around, especially with Carson Wentz being back. So that's a question mark for me. I love your running backs, obviously David Johnson and Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon, I'm not a big fan, but just like you said earlier with the amount of times he's going to touch the ball, it's going to pay for itself right there.
Right.
I love Allen Robinson. You got him for a really good price too. And of course you got the best kicker basically in fantasy and Justin Tucker and a really good defense in the Ravens. Your bench, I like your bench. I really like most of your bench. I think Jamal Williams is going to end up being the starting running back in Green Bay. Crowell's a starter.
Yep.
Lamar Miller is going to be a starter to start the season. So you got yourself a really, really good team. I do like this team, I think, better than my team. So. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. As I said in the draft as I was going, I would love to take this team into the season, but I guess, unfortunately, that's the downfall of it being a mock draft. Let's move on to CJ's team. CJ, recap your team.
All right, so I have Carson Wentz, Kareem Hunt, Devontae Freeman, Brandon Cooks, Juju Smith-Schuster, Zach Ertz, and Joe Mixon in my flex. And then my kicker is Jake Elliott, and then my defense is Philadelphia Eagles. And then on my bench, well, I think I found some gems in here. I got Kenyon Drake, Ronald Jones from Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have Sterling Shepard, Devin Funchess, Pierre Garçon, and Will Fuller.
Now, I'll jump in here. I do like your team a lot. I like your double, again, high-end running backs like I did. You got some value wide receivers, an elite tight end like I did. You have an upper echelon player in your flex position. Homer like I was with kicker and defense. I like that. It's a lot of overlap in our draft philosophy there, CJ, at least in the final result. The bench is kind of where I am a little bit distant for your team, only because for me it's weird. I always want to leave the draft with more running backs than wide receivers, and I didn't even do that with my team because if I have a wide receiver in my flex position, so I actually left my draft with 6 wide receivers, only 5 running backs, which kind of makes me sad. But you left your draft with 5 running backs as well, only 2 on the bench, but some question marks on yours. Obviously, Joe Mixon, we all think is kind of a much better year. You can't really argue Devontae Freeman or Kareem Hunt, but Kenyon Drake, we just don't know what his workload's going to be, and Ronald Jones has to win the job first. We don't know how that's going to necessarily shake out. So my biggest focal point thing that I notice on your team is your running back depth is slightly concerning to me. But the pickup of Joe Mixon, we were both bidding on him, I think kind of makes it easier for you to stream that position if need be. And then obviously you got crazy depth at wide receiver, Sterling Shepard, Devin Funchess, Pierre Garçon, Will Fuller, a lot of boom-bust potential and some PPR options depending on your matchup, what you need on a week-to-week basis. I like your team. I do. Jason, what are your thoughts?
My only concern about this team, I like the team overall. I like Carson Wentz, obviously. He was a top quarterback last year in fantasy. Kareem Hunt, top running back in fantasy for last year. So you got some really good, and Joe Mixon, we've all been saying, is going to be really, really good. Philadelphia Eagles are going to have a really good defense. So you get a nice team. My only concern on in your starters is that you don't really have a top-flight number 1 wide receiver. You've got a lot of depth at wide receiver, but you don't have, like, that top number 1 guy. Like you got Allen Robinson up in Griffin's team. You don't really have the Allen Robinson type, but you make up for that in the fact that you've got some very high-end twos. Juju Smith-Schuster has the opportunity to be excellent. Brandon Cooks is gonna win you weeks by himself. I mean, he's that kind of a target, but he is going to be a little bit boom bust. You have a lot of wide receiver depth, as we already mentioned. I'm not a big Funchess fan, but I mean. He's in a crowd of 6 guys, so you're going to have no problems streaming in and out wide receivers. Overall, I do like it. I am concerned about Ronald Jones and Kenyon Drake because both of those guys, we don't know if they're going to be the starters. But other than that, I like the team overall. I think you've got some gems in there.
Yeah. I guess anything you want to add, CJ?
No, I mean, that's it.
All right, Jason, let's go to your team.
Alrighty. Well, I got Matthew Stafford as my quarterback. My starting running backs are Saquon Barkley and Dalvin Cook. My wide receivers are A.J. Green and Josh Gordon. My tight end, the first tight end they got was Greg Olson. They got a tight end later. I'll talk about him in a minute. My flex position, excuse me, I'm not drunk, I promise. In my flex position, I have Marshawn Lynch. And then my kicker is Kai Forbath, and my defense is the Kansas City Chiefs. On my bench, I've got running backs Darius Geis and Carlos Hyde. Wide receivers, I have Marquise Lee, Sammy Watkins, Cooper Kupp, and I drafted another tight end in Evan Ingram. Interesting thing about that, it's something that you get in auction drafts that you don't necessarily get in snake drafts is you try to, I was trying to price enforce with Evan Ingram, and that's how I ended up with it because he was going really, really low. I tried to bump him up a little bit, and no one else did on him, and I ended up with him. I mean, that's a really good thing. I've got 2 very good tight ends. I'm not concerned necessarily about that because I also have a running back in my flex position. So I've got decent depth all the way around. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in. I like how, yet again, we went with the double high-end running back approach. You, this time with Saquon Barkley and Dalvin Cook. Both guys I think you're going to get for a steal, and probably, I would say, obviously discounted over the guys that we got, which is why you were able to make a splash and get yourself an elite wide receiver. You got the highest-end wide receiver out of any of our 3 teams with A.J. Green, which I really like to pick up there. You have a lot of potential with Josh Gordon, though there's a lot of mouths to feed in Cleveland, and I don't think there's going to be the volume to feed them all, so it's going to be a big question mark, I think, to start with. But some nice depth. You got some PPR options if need be with Cooper Kupp and Sammy Watkins probably playing somewhat of that role in Kansas City. Marquise Lee is going to get the ball a lot. I like your running back depth. Obviously, you also got Marshawn Lynch in your flex, but also you have Darius Geis, who we were kind of bidding over a bit. He's going to be, as we all perceive, a workhorse starter in Washington. And Carlos Hyde, love him or hate him, he's going to be the starter, at least to start the season, and we think he'll probably hold that position until he inevitably gets hurt. And a good player on I think an offense that's going to surprise a lot of people. So not necessarily the depth at running back I would have liked to see, but I mean I think you got quality to all the way throughout. And then that was going to be my big standout thing, is that you are the only one of us that left with 2 tight ends. So you kind of explained it there. I don't see the need for it, but these things do happen in auction drafts. CJ, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna kill Jason on the 2 tight ends things. I would normally in an auction, if this is real, I would have got myself a second tight end as well, just because I like to get guys I like, and it's not streamed position. I'm not a big fan of Carlos Hyde, but like we both was saying, what Griffin was saying, he is still gonna be the starter. Sammy Watkins, already know how I felt about that guy. What I mean, he had an okay year last year, but I don't know if that's gonna be able to translate over in Kansas City offense. But outside of that, man, I think your team is really good, man. I don't know why you would say Griffin's team is better than yours. I would like yours better than his.
What? Get out of here.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
I do. I mean, his team is solid. I'm not a fanboy, all right? I'm not Googling over your team. Okay, you have a nice team, but I like Jason's team as well.
Fair enough.
I think for me, it's just the fact that you got David Johnson, you got Aaron Rodgers. I mean, those are the best at their positions.
Yep.
I mean, people need to know, because there was a bunch of freaking auto drafters. That's the only reason he got all those people.
That's true.
But we're recapping our teams though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the people need to understand that though.
Anyone who was at the draft knows that.
I don't want people to think I don't like my team. I'm happy with my team. I mean, I got AJ Green. Josh Gordon got the opportunity to be a number 1 wide receiver. That's why I drafted him. I got him for a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I like my team. It's probably just David Johnson, man. It's just David. He's David Johnson. That's going to kill it for me.
I feel you.
Yeah. So I guess at the end of the day, is there one team that we think maybe stands out above the rest, or should we take this to Twitter?
I thought that's what we were doing. I thought we were taking it to Twitter. Nobody got back to us?
Well, no, I haven't put it out yet because we didn't have the teams.
Yeah, do that.
So, those are our teams. But I mean, I stand behind my team. Do you guys waver on your own team?
I'm not voting for you.
I'm not asking you to vote for me.
Okay, all right.
Do you stand by your team as the best one, CJ?
I'll vote for Jason's team.
And Jason, who would you vote for?
That. As far as which team's the best?
Yeah, what's your favorite team out of these 3?
Don't vote for Griffin.
Man, I mean, I really like my team. I really like your team to the David Johnson. That's a hard question, man. I think you know what?
Don't do it,
because of depth. I'm going to go with my team.
Hey,
there you go. There you go.
I think I have better.
2-1. Suck it, Griffin.
There's some serious collusion going on here, but that's fine. We'll take it to Twitter. But now that being said, that was our recap of our auction drafts. Now, was there anything that stood out to you guys or surprised you guys, or anything that really just you were not expecting to see happen, or rates you were expecting players to go for, or did it all kind of play out the way you were anticipating?
Oh yeah, Team 7 being out of money by round 3. I think that was pretty surprising.
Yeah, just lots of different draft strategies, a lot of cutthroatness and play. So, Jason, you had one player dropped on you. I didn't get any dropped on me. CJ, did you price enforce and regret it at any point?
No, mostly all the price enforcement was early rounds, so those are all people that are relevant, people that people wanted. So everything was on purpose.
Fair enough. And, of course, draft price enforcing more of an advanced strategy, a little bit dangerous because players do get dropped on you sometimes. So these things do happen. When you know what a player should be going for, you don't want players to get a steal, especially if you know that they're all in on that player. And so that's part of the strategy. Yeah. So again, it's not as easy to go back and recap like it is to go back on a snake draft where you can just look, oh, this player was picked by Team X in round 4. Oh, what do we think about that? Because obviously there's a lot of other variables that go into auction drafts, so we could spend all day recapping it, but I think we've covered it pretty well. If you guys want to go back and hear any part of the draft, we have the first hour or so on Tuesday's show, and then if you go to YouTube and check our 2018 post shows, we did the remainder of the draft over there. So I guess with that, let's move on to some of our top headlines from around the league, and we will start at the running back position, which I put this as the top headline because I know CJ loves it. Free agent running back DeMarco Murray has decided to call it a career. He is retiring. CJ.
All right. You've had your time in the sun, DeMarco. Just ride off. Get out of here. I gave you your moment Tuesday. Go away. All right, there it is.
CJ loathes this guy for no apparent reason, so I'll throw this to a less biased individual. Jason, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this was too soon? Because I, like many other analysts out there, and I believe you guys are in the same boat, all this news that was coming out saying, oh, I've talked to 4 or 5 teams that are expressing big interest here. I was like, who, where? I don't believe you until I see it. So I think it was all kind of fake news until he realized it himself and decided, oh, well, I'm just going to retire. So
there you go.
That's what he's done. So, Jason, what do you think here?
Well, I think that CJ's chapter of the DeMarco Murray fan club is going to be very, very sad about this. But
oh no,
I think it's a little bit early for him. I think he could have found himself another team. I think he was trying to get more money than he was actually worth. I mean, he looked at his past and said, "Look at, I led the league. I led the league. Well, that's great, but you led the league on a team that was built for you to lead the league. And you're not going to be the same in other places. So I think he could have found himself a home, but I think he was expecting to get paid more than he was worth."
Mm-hmm. I think he still had plenty in the tank. I mean, he's only 30 years old. Yeah. He's only been in the league for 7 seasons. I mean, I think he had plenty left to offer. Now, obviously, the injury-riddled early portion of his career, that's how I always remembered him in Dallas until he had his Offensive Player of the Year season with the Cowboys in 2014. Was it just under 400 rushing attempts, but almost 2,000 rushing yards and, 13 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns that year? I'll bring it up.
There's a lot.
I have it on a tab
somewhere.
There's
a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, 13 touchdowns. So, I mean, holy crap. He very, very good. Then 1 year with the Eagles, which I think is why CJ loathes him so much, because he was paid to be a player on a team where he didn't fit the scheme. Then he had 2 decent years in Tennessee. Not obviously a standout year last year, but, he was a contributor. I think that if he held out just a little bit longer, there's going to be injuries. It is an inevitable part of this sport. Injuries are going to happen, and there are teams out there that could use his services. There's nothing else, a veteran in the locker room that could help work with the young guys. I think he could have gotten a job somewhere, but I don't think, like you said, he was getting anything that he was looking for, so he decided to call it a career. So DeMarco Murray, he ends his career with 1,604 rushing attempts. He only rushed for 7,174 yards and 49 touchdowns, which is not too shabby, especially because he didn't really turn it on until 2013. So with that, I guess we move on. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reports that Pittsburgh Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell will not attend training camp. This isn't surprising news to me, but this is more sources that are expecting this, seeing as how he's playing under the franchise tag. A deal was not struck, so this is what he did last year. I expect him to do it again this year. Do you guys see this in any other way? Shock, surprise, anything at all?
Pretty much, duh. I mean, they were trying to do this contract thing last year. They were talking to him toward the end of the season, making it seem like, everything was going to be good going into this year. And, they've reached a stalemate. Like Le'Veon Bell, from the Steelers' perspective, okay, I get it. You want to pay less for more. But from the player's perspective, this guy is, outside Antonio Brown, this guy is your offense. So, I mean, he deserves to get paid, to match the production. The production is money, so he deserves to get it. But they'll regret. I mean, well, I can't even say the Steelers will regret because they basically go through running backs, and they know how to find gems, and I think they have another one in the tank. So when Le'Veon goes this way, they can just put in another one.
Yeah, I could see that. James Conner is a guy who I personally like. I had him riding my bench last season. Never got a chance to really use him. We've heard reports that he is impressed, but I don't think he's going to be any Le'Veon Bell, at least not right now. Fitzgerald Toussaint, Stephen Ridley, a couple names that we know, but none that are going to be remotely Le'Veon Bell given the opportunity. So I agree to an extent. I again was not surprised to hear this. I fully anticipated this, and it makes you a little bit wary. Worry about if he's going to be in good enough shape to jump in week 1 and go out there, but he proved it last year.
Same thing last year, yeah.
Well, absolutely. I agree, but another year older, and who knows? He has been known to be a little injury-riddled throughout his career, so we will see. Jason, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, Pittsburgh's just trying to protect themselves. You put too much money into one person, then you're going to have contracts coming up for these other guys that they've got, and they have a very, very high-powered offense. We know that. If they pay too much, they're going to lose a lot. So I understand it from the team's perspective. I understand it from Le'Veon Bell's perspective. He sees himself as one of the best in the league, which he absolutely should see himself in that way. So it's just going to come down to, can these two get together on a number? And I don't know. I like you guys, I feel like Pittsburgh is kind of like, you know what? We got James Conner. I mean, do we really need Le'Veon Bell? We got Antonio Brown. Do we really need Le'Veon Bell? I would say yes, you need Le'Veon Bell. I mean, he's the catalyst that makes your offense go. I say pay the man, but we'll see. I mean, he may sit out.
I mean, if he hits the open market, there's probably going to be 25 teams out there that go out there and offer him what he's looking for. So,
he's going to make more than any other running back in history if he hits the open market.
I agree. So we'll see how it plays out. But as of now, he is franchise tagged. Now, do you guys put any weight to the recent report coming from Adam Schefter that said that if he hits or that he thinks that it is possible that Le'Veon Bell sits out the first half of the year if he does not get a long-term deal done, which is a quote. You guys give any weight to that?
I don't know about all that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, we don't play with our money like that. We don't be doing that.
I mean, agreed, but also if he does get hurt, that's going to guarantee he doesn't get the contract he's looking for. So you could definitely see a world where it happens. I don't think it will because he played last season, but I mean, it's definitely possible. So I guess we will see. We'll have to pay attention to Le'Veon Bell. Have a Le'Veon Bell watch just like we did last offseason. With that, let's move on. Now, this is a little bit of sad news, and this has been circulating, so this is probably old news to you if you're hearing it, but we're just going to cover all the bases and talk about how Buffalo Bills running back LaShawn McCoy has been accused of allegedly beating up his girlfriend. There's a lot of contrary reports, including ones that say he was not even in the state when it happened. It's getting kind of messy, so we don't really know how it's going to play out, which is why we've been talking about players who could be coming in behind him. We've kind of hinted at in recent episodes. Do you guys have anything you want to say about this? Any insight you want to give? Any thoughts on the situation? Anything at all?
I would love to, hopefully that this is not true, for him. I mean, he's had a incredible career in Philly, and he's doing so much for Buffalo. I mean, even outside of fantasy related, he is that guy there now after they've just basically just chopped that team up and now rebuilding. So I would hate for this to be true, but if it's true, you can't have that in the league, and he has to go.
That's true. Jason?
Yeah, if it's true, he's got to go, and he'll go. If it's true, he's going to go. But I'm just thinking it might be interesting, regardless of whether it's true or not, to see Buffalo. Buffalo might just cut him and get rid of him, only because Buffalo is such a mess right now. They're incomplete. They're going to be in complete rebuild. They're going to have to be in complete rebuild. So maybe it's time to cut that big contract and go out and try to find somebody else. Maybe they'll try to trade him. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to have much trade capital right now. But if this could be a catalyst for something to happen with this contract.
It could be. I mean, they have an out in his contract starting this season. They if he stays, right, he's owed $9 million. If they cut him, only about $5.25 million. So they can start seeing savings immediately. The suspension for domestic violence is what, 6 months? 6 weeks, I think, at the base requirement. So I mean, if it's reported to be true and they do keep him, that's the minimum amount of time we're looking at before you see him for your fantasy team. If you want to roster him, I know some people have moral objections to certain players, so I mean that's another thing you'll have to take into account for yourselves. But for an analytics standpoint, you're looking at 6-7 weeks. You're not going to have the guy, depending on the bye week for the Bills, which I don't actually. Well, actually, it wouldn't count during a bye week. So 7 weeks out of the season, you're going to be without LaShawn McCoy if you do draft him. So things to take into consideration for your leagues. If you want to know more about the situation, Google is your best friend, and it's very easy to find. So with that, let's go on to another report. Now, this one I think is kind of funny and interesting because we've gotten a good amount of, I want to say hate, but some people who are questioning our analytics when it comes to a certain player. And more reports are coming out that back up our stance on things. Now, this one comes out from the Charlotte Observer's Jordan Rodriguez. I don't know how you say it. He predicts that running back Christian McCaffrey's carry total won't go up by much this season, which is what we've been saying for months now. Even before they picked up C.J. Anderson was probably going to happen. We figure they're going to bring someone else in. He's not that type of back, and they want to keep using him in the way that they are because they think that's the best way for him to be effective and to stay healthy. So, guys, anything that you want to add up about this? I just think it's funny because more reports that are standing by what we've been saying all off season long.
Listen, for me, I am a Christian McCaffrey fan. He's a guy that I will look at in drafts. And for those that keep saying that, and even in this report, people that believe this report, saying that don't think his numbers going to go up, all I'm saying is, look, when you get new offensive coordinators into your system, it will behoove you to look at their track record. Their track record and their history, that does not lie. You look at his history on the running backs going through his system. Their yardage has gone up. Their touchdowns have gone up. There's only two backs back there that's probably going to be getting the work, C.J. Anderson and Christian McCaffrey. C.J. Anderson is going to be the bell cow as far as that, bruiser type back. He can receive the ball. That is true. But they drafted Christian McCaffrey for a reason, to be that receiver back. The boy is nice. You saw his tape. Now you bring an offensive coordinator that matches up to his scheme. That's all I'm saying. So look at the tape. At the end of the day, we'll find out. If I'm wrong, I have no problem admitting that I'm wrong. But if I'm right, please believe me, you will be hearing from me.
I mean, you don't think that Norv Turner's offense would work well with C.J. Anderson, who can catch the ball?
So you and I listened to me.
I was listening to you, but he can catch. Obviously,
I just said that.
I know, but what we're saying is obviously Christian McCaffrey. That is his wheelhouse. That's what he does. But C.J. Anderson can do that and has done that well in his career. So I mean, it's one of those things where we don't know how it's going to play out. Jason, what are your thoughts?
I like Christian McCaffrey too. He's got a lot of upside, but. Yeah, they went out and they got C.J. Anderson for a reason. They're going to pay him money for a reason. He's going to be, like what C.J. said, he's going to be the bell cow. He's going to be the guy. He can do it all. He is a 3-down back, when he's not injured. Now, is Christian McCaffrey someone you want to roster? Yeah, he is, because not only is he going to have value for you, regardless of whether he's the starter, if C.J. Anderson gets hurt again, he's going to have tremendous value for you. So definitely someone you want to roster. Not someone you want to take very, very high in your drafts, because he's not going to be that guy. He's not going to be a 3-down back to start the season. He may end up being a 3-down back, but right now I would say he's a very, very high-class handcuff.
Yeah, and just to put it out there, so C.J. Anderson, last season in the dumpster fire that was the Broncos offense, still averaged 4.1 yards per carry and had almost 30 receptions. So we'll see how it plays out, and that's why it's a big question mark. But this goes to back up a lot of arguments for I guess the majority of the show, not all of it, but the majority. Last bit of running back news: Philadelphia Eagles running back Darren Sproles has said that 2018 will be his final NFL season. That's a quote. So, CJ, I throw this to you. What are your thoughts on this? I'm not surprised by this. I was kind of surprised he came back. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, hey, I hope we can be able to, cap off his career the right way. I mean, he already has a ring but he of course he was injured last towards the middle of the season, so he wasn't able to participate in the Super Bowl. So we hope to cap it off right. But I mean, the dude has an incredible career. With the Chargers and with the Saints, and then coming with the Eagles. Man, the couple years, 3 years we've had him so far. So he's been a dominant player, man. And Doug Peterson loves the dude.
All right, Jason, anything you want to add?
Phenomenal talent. He's had a great career. He's kind of defined a position. I mean, how many times have we said, "Oh, this guy's going to be the Darren Sproles of this particular offense"?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he's phenomenal.
Small back, yeah.
Yeah, we all said when he went down last year that it was probably going to be the end of the road for him, and it was sad to see him go out that way. So I'm happy that he's back. Let me say that first and foremost. Surprised that he did come back, but happy to see it. And hopefully you guys find a role for him that he'll be productive. And I mean, I'm not going to say I hope the Eagles win another Super Bowl, but hopefully he has a good year. With that, let's move on to the wide receiver position. We'll go to Atlanta, where Falcons wide receiver Julio Jones has been informed by the team officials that he will not receive a new contract this offseason. Now, this is per the Athletics' Jeff Schultz. So, guys, thoughts on that?
Wow. That's my main thought on that. Just wow. I mean, this is their number one overall guy, and so surprising that they wouldn't work on a new contract for him. I don't know. I guess, and they went out and they drafted a guy, so maybe they're thinking, oh yeah, we've got his backup and all this other stuff. So if he decided to bolt later, we're fine. But I don't know. To me, this seems like a very strange move.
I think the general manager is a fantasy guy like us, so he's getting tired of him being on the bench. I mean, being on his roster, not producing the numbers he should. But I mean, this is just a bad move by Atlanta, man. I mean, this is your guy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's better than any wide receiver you've ever had. I mean, you've given up. You go back to the draft when they drafted this dude, the capital they gave up to get this man. I mean, the dude just had, not too long ago, an incredible Super Bowl going against the Patriots. Incredible playoff run. I mean, that dude is money. I don't know, but hey, what I mean, if he wants to sit out week 1, I mean, definitely do your thing, bro. Do your thing.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, he's very good, and he is reliable. He distracts the defenses. He hasn't fumbled the ball since 2015, which is pretty darn nice. He's very good player for fantasy, not as much because fantasy is based on stats and tracking those numbers, but as a real-life player, he's one of the best that there is. Now, to put this out there, if you're not familiar with this contract situation, he's not on his final year of his deal. It's not a contract year for him. They have an out in his contract as of right now, which I think he wants some more job security, because right now he's owed about $13 million. He's owed about $15 million next year, and then 2020 is the final year on his deal where he's owed just about $11.5 million. He wants to see that number increased and some security, because they can cut him this season for only $4.8 million. So
please cut him, please.
Oh, he'll find a job very, very quickly. There's no denying that.
Pretty sure he will.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So something to monitor, something to watch, but it looks like he's not getting that contract this year. I don't expect him to hold out because he still has 3 years on the deal, including the season. But we'll see how it plays out.
You never know.
I'm intrigued. Next year's he
don't even think about it, CJ. You don't have a cap space, man.
What are you talking about?
The Eagles have no money.
What are you talking about? We're the Warriors of the NFL. We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
Yeah, you'll just cut half your team to do it. Now, to put this out there, he's, as I mentioned, owed about $15 million next year, but they can cut him for $2.4. So he's making more, but his dead cap is less. What, do you think that we see this next offseason? Do you think he holds out next season? I mean, it gets interesting. They can cut him in 2020 for nothing. They can cut him and walk away without owing him a penny, which is interesting.
Never know. It could be. It's possible for next year.
Yeah, I just think for job security reasons, because he'll be 30 next season. He's going to want to lock it in for another couple years. I could see it more seriously then. I think this is disappointing for him now, but I don't think he'll hold out, which is a question I've been getting quite a bit. But we'll see. Let's go on to Arizona, where Cardinals wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald said that, quote, "It's been great working with Sam Bradford," end quote. He called him one of the pure passers of the NFL, which, again, we've all known. We've been saying this for a while now. He's one of the most accurate passers in the league. It's just injury concerns have been really what's debacled his whole career. So Larry Fitzgerald, one of the best route runners in the league, playing with Sam Bradford, one of the best passers of the league, sounds good as long as everyone stays healthy. Jason, I'll throw this to you. What are your thoughts on this?
Now, I don't want to sit here and gush for 20 minutes, but I'm going to just say one thing. Larry Fitzgerald was just recently quoted as saying, if I don't play in Arizona, I don't play.
Yeah, he did say that.
Arizona fans absolutely love to hear that. And I expect him to, depending on what happens this year, if it's a dumpster fire this year, I think he'll probably retire. But if they play well this year, which I'm expecting them to do much better than a lot of people are giving them credit for, of course, because, my team, I would expect them to play at least another year, maybe two. So, yeah, I love, just like you said, Sam Bradford and Larry Fitzgerald, this could be a very nice match.
It could be.
Combo, man.
And
be a little sleeper player to pick up.
Could be. I mean, he's been a top fantasy wide receiver the last couple of years, so why not? Yep. Now, obviously, new regime, new OC, but we'll see. That also kind of what you were saying, Jason, plays into another quote that Larry had where he was saying that he also would not rule out playing beyond this season. So we thought he was going to call it a year after last season. He came back for a year. Now he's saying he might play even further down the line. So Larry Fitzgerald, will he be like Tom Brady and constantly beat Father Time, or is it just going to be a year-by-year situation, and we'll see how it plays out? Time will tell. Let's wrap up the wide receiver news by heading over to Green Bay and talking about Packers wide receiver Randall Cobb, who reportedly is no longer wearing a walking boot. Seems like it was minor after all. It was precautionary. Guys, does this at all give you any more confidence back in Randall Cobb, who should see a massively good workload this season?
Yeah. It should be good. I mean, if you're a Randall Cobb fan, you definitely would like to hear this. Like Griffin, he was giggling and saying thank the Lord. But I mean,
he's going in the late 8th round right now.
I don't even hear the giggling.
Yeah.
He was probably giggling.
I don't think I giggled.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's like, Mommy,
Evil laughter.
Guess what? Randall Cobb is healthy.
Now he's going. I'll put this in perspective for you guys. Who would you rather have? Who's going in the same area as Randall Cobb? Would you rather have Marquise Goodwin or Randall Cobb?
Marquise Goodwin. That's the guy out of the 49ers,
yep,
right?
Yep.
Marquise Goodwin.
Goodwin.
All right. Randall Cobb or Allen Hurns?
Randall Cobb.
Jason, what'd you say?
Allen Hurns is the only guy to throw to in Dallas. Allen Hurns.
I don't trust him.
Theoretically. Would you rather have Randall Cobb or, this should be easy, Robert Woods?
Oh, Robert Woods.
Woods. And Randall Cobb and Pierre Garçon.
Oh, Pierre Garçon.
All right. Oh, and let's do one more for actually, there's two more that could be fun. These guys are all going within about a round of each other. Randall Cobb or Devontae Parker?
Oh, Randall Cobb. Neither. Can I pass?
That is not cool.
Can I pass?
You can't pass. So who would you take, CJ?
Can I trade? Can I trade my pick?
You can't trade. You desperately need a wide receiver in the late 8th, early 9th round.
Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb.
All right, and Randall Cobb.
While holding in my vomit.
I know, right?
Fair enough.
By regretting my pick.
Fair enough. And Randall Cobb or Robbie Anderson?
Oh, Robbie Anderson. Come on.
Let's go. I know what
Spirit animal.
CJ go off.
Do it. I'm all in. Even with the suspensions, I'm all in.
I knew CJ was going to go there. CJ loves him some Robbie Anderson because CJ's an actual heel. So this is probably a better question for Jason. Jason, who would you go for?
Oh, good grief, man.
Come on, do it, Jason. You know.
Randall Cobb.
There you go.
Boo.
I trust his quarterback a lot better than I trust the quarterback.
Come on, Josh McCown. Come on,
Robbie
baby.
Anderson.
Josh McCown is the Mick Foley of the NFL. The man's body is broken, and yet he still goes out there and does it, man.
Are you actually saying you'd rather take a number 2 receiver for the Jets over a number 2 receiver for the Packers?
And that's what I'm saying?
That's basically what you're saying. It's saying
absolutely, yeah.
Because Quincy Nunwa's penciled in as the number 1 right now. So just saying. All right, interesting. Let's move on. Let's go to some tight end news where Arizona Cardinals tight end Ricky Seals-Jones was arrested and charged with assault, disorderly conduct, and criminal trespassing in Scottsdale, Arizona. Jason.
Wow.
Jason, what's going on down there, man?
Friggin' moron.
What are your thoughts here?
For several years, Arizona has not had to deal with a lot of this kind of stupid crap under Bruce Arians. It wasn't an issue. And then suddenly we had our general manager, Steve Kine,
he got nice
in jail.
Yep. He got nice a couple weeks ago, right?
He got pulled over for extreme DUI. And then now Ricky Seals-Jones, he was also drunk and decided to do some stupid crap. So
he said
I don't know what's going on right now, but they better get their crap together because this is not good.
He said, "Why not? My boss is doing it. I mean, why not, man?"
Right?
I mean, obviously a great example was set. So I guess what is the trickle-down impact here? Because all we've been hearing for the entire offseason, and this has not just been within our show, but in fantasy circles around the industry, is how Ricky Seals-Jones could be one of those really good sleeper tight ends that could surprise a lot of people this season. I mean, are we looking to Jermaine Gresham to be that guy now? I mean, I don't know what we do.
He has.
Is Ricky Seals-Jones, I mean, is he going to face repercussions from the league, I assume?
Oh, yeah.
Possibly legal repercussions.
He'll definitely, I mean, he's going to face a suspension. It's just a matter of how many games we're talking about. And as far as Jermaine Gresham, I mean, Jermaine Gresham's been that guy before. He's been that pass-catching tight end. And you got a guy in Sam Bradford that likes to throw to his tight end a lot more than Carson Palmer ever did. So regardless, I think you got to look at the tight end position in Arizona as kind of a revitalized position.
I would not be drafting Jermaine Gresham, just putting that out there. Maybe if he gets hot, maybe he's a waiver wire ad streaming option, but I don't think I'd be drafting him. Would you guys?
Understandable.
I mean, I don't even think Ricky Seals-Jones being drafted in most 12-team leagues. So
last round, would I take a shot on him if I don't have any other tight ends? Yes.
And that's not at all a homer pick.
No, for him, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. CJ, you?
Ricky Seals-Jones? Nah, I'm okay. I'm not a big fan of drinking, so.
Well,
that's a lie. That's a lie. I do drink a lot.
I was talking about Jermaine Gresham. Shut up, CJ.
Oh, Jermaine Gresham. Jermaine Gresham, waiver wire guy for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see a way that he wouldn't be. There's too many other good guys out there, but we'll see. And let's wrap up with some other news.
Tight ends out there.
Yeah, let's wrap up with some other news. All-Pro defensive back Darrelle Revis has announced his retirement after 11 NFL seasons. Probably held on a season or two longer than he should have. What do you guys think? Well, is Cannon in his future?
I think so. He was he was dominant at his position for years, multiple seasons. Had to respect the NFL, but just like you said, he just held on. He was stuck around a little too long, man. I mean, that's the thing about this game, man. At certain positions, you can't hide your inefficiencies as far as to keep up with the game. And cornerback is one of the most spotlighted positions. When you don't have it anymore, you don't have it, and it will show. And that's what happened with him.
I mean, a multi-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro player. It's I think so. I'd be more surprised if he didn't, honestly. Was he still under contract or was he on a 1-year deal? I don't remember with the Chiefs.
He was a 1-year deal.
So he was a free agent? Okay.
Yeah, he was a free agent.
All right. I didn't know if he just left the Chiefs in an even thinner situation or not, but okay. Darrelle Revis.
They've been hurting it cornerback since last season. Even with Marcus Peters.
That's true, because Revis only played 5 games last year, so that probably didn't help. I think so, yeah. He just an amazing, especially early career. Lots of years with the Jets, played a year for the Bucs, with the Patriots, back to the Jets for 2 years, then last year with the Chiefs. I think he did a great job. He had a great career, and I don't know if he'll be a first ballot guy. You can make an argument for him, but I think he'll get in. And last bit of other news, Seattle Seahawks free safety Earl Thomas said that he wants to be traded if the Seahawks will not extend him. He is on a contract year. Man, Seattle is just nosediving rapidly. So, I don't know if he gets a deal done, honestly. What do you guys think?
No, I don't think the deal is going to be done. I think this is strategic from them. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to get rid of the people, talking a lot. They got opinions and, not really agreeing with the current regime going on. So, Earl Thomas is another big mouth, leader presence. You already got rid of Richard Sherman. Cam Chancellor retired. So you just got to cut off one more head, and then the team is all yours.
Fair enough. All right, and with that, That wraps up the top headlines. Let's go on to our topic of the day, which is going to be a mailbag. We have about 4 or 5 questions we're going to try and hit as we're running low on time. We'll start off with Jameson in Boston, who asked, who are you targeting as a last-round pick? So I took this as a probably 14th, 15th round pick because depending on what round you're going to pick your kicker, defense, what round you're going to actually have your last round, I guess you could say even 13th rounder. But a guy who stands out to me, which is I think an obvious choice, is Frank Gore. Frank Gore's going in the 14th round right now. He's a guy who is going to be, well, has been a number 1 running back for years. He got brought in to do a job. He could be easily a mid-round flex-worthy guy once his role is more defined, and you can get him for basically free. He's going undrafted, I see quite often as well. So he's a guy that I'm definitely looking at. There's a lot of guys who I really, really like as well, but so many are going undrafted that I can get them off the waiver wire. So as far as guys that I would actually draft in a late round, Frank Gore stands out to me. Do either of you guys have anyone that stands out to you?
My last couple years, I would say, has been Will Fuller. I like his speed, and especially in that offense now with Deshaun Watson there. I mean, they were game busters last season, and if he didn't get hurt, I think he would probably end up finishing as a late 1 receiver, man, just because the production that he was getting, especially touchdowns, was ridiculous. So Will Fuller is a guy that I like to look at. That's around my last pick.
Fair enough. Jason, your guy.
Well, you actually took one of my main ones, Frank Gore. It's definitely somebody that I'm going to be looking at. But some other names I wouldn't mind looking at. I think T.J. Yeldon is one that I'm kind of looking at as a final pick. Good handcuff to have. I think he could possibly have a good season even as the backup. Someone else I'm looking at is possibly Paul Richardson, who's going to fall around there in Washington. Again, you're looking for upside with that final pick. And this is somebody that could be a really nice piece for them to use if they had, that burner for them. And then the last one is a little bit of a homer pick, Christian Kirk. I think he's going to end up being the number 2 guy in Arizona, so he's going to get an opportunity to catch the ball a little bit more than regular rookies.
Fair enough. CJ, do you have anyone that you're actually targeting for this season, though? Because Will Fuller's going in the 5th round right now.
5th round. Oh, you talking about in standard or you talking about auction?
Standard.
Standard? Oh, okay. Yeah. Corey Clement, another guy like Corey Clement or Kerryon Johnson.
Okay, those are guys that are going a bit later. Fair enough. I was going to say, wait, Will Fuller's going a lot earlier than the last round. Okay. Yeah. Wires got crossed. Fair enough. All right, let's go to Ryan in Charlottetown, Canada. Oh, hey, Charlottetown. Wow. I didn't know Canada had a Charlottetown. Sorry. He asked, what is the downside to an 8-man league? I always hear about 12-man league strategies, but it is hard to find that many people who love football up here. Well, for starters, thanks for listening to the show from way up there. Sure, that's a time zone even further east of us, I think, if memory serves. I think I know the general area that is. I could be wrong. But one thing that comes to mind is that you have to definitely target more elite players more regularly. I hear people all the time that say, well, since every position matters more, it comes down to the breakout players. You definitely want some boom-bust guys, but you definitely want to get as much depth in the upper echelon as possible because I just don't think that it's worth investing as high on the quarterback as some people freak out about because while everybody else is grabbing those other positions, like there's one difference maker at tight end, and that's usually Gronk. Quarterback, there's maybe 1 or 2, but while everybody else is scrambling to get those guys, I'm loading up on my other positions because you'll get a lot more higher-end, elite-tier guys that will be difference makers for you week in and week out, and then you fill those positions as you see a good guy at a good value. What about you guys? Do you guys have a strategy that you employ during the smaller leagues that you play in?
Well, the question was, what's the downside to an 8-man league? And I can tell you that the downside for an 8-man league for me is that you're playing the same people over and over again. With a 12-man league, you get an opportunity to play more teams. The season is a little bit more diverse. With an 8-man league, you're playing the same people over and over and over again. I mean, you're going to play the same people sometimes 3 times in a season. So that can get kind of tedious. That would be a downside for me. I mean, it's still fantasy football, and the good thing about it is if you're playing a league that goes every year like we do, you start with an 8-man league, that's fine, and then hopefully you get an opportunity to add some people to that league, just like we're trying to do with our league of record.
Yeah. I would say the same. I would say that. I mean, for me, and then downside. I mean, I feel like you were saying, Griffin. I mean, you got to focus on other positions and stack up. But I kind of feel like everybody's starters are going to be really good. Only eight. It's only 8 people, so there's not that much diversity is going to be happening right there as far as like what you think you have a one up on somebody. I mean, everybody is going to have an elite quarterback. Everybody's going to have two to three to maybe even 4 elite running backs. So it's like it's not really spread out as far as strategy wise. I mean, it's there's enough good players in the league where eight teams, everybody can still have great starters, and even if you play your cards right, even a good bench. So 8-man leagues is it's just not, to me. I don't think it's fun because it's not a lot of strategy going on.
Yeah, every team's benches are like starters for other leagues. That's true. That's a definite downside because that's true. I was looking at the 12-man league strategies portion of the question. 8-man league downsides. Yeah, it's simply that every team is super stacked, and it's really, really hard to predict how the teams are going to go as far as who's going to win because all the teams are filled with superstars. It's why 10-team is like the smallest I'll ever go. 8 is just, it's kind of ridiculous. I was asked to play in a 6-man league a couple years ago, and I
6-man, what the crap?
Yeah, I politely declined. It's like
dumb. An
dumb.
all-star game.
Yeah, your entire team is like made up of like players from the first 5 rounds. It's dumb. Your teams are all scoring like 200 points a week. What were you gonna say, Jason?
Absolutely. I mean, I was gonna say if I was in an 8-man league, I think I might not even draft certain positions during the draft unless I absolutely had to. Because I mean, it's going to end up, like you said, there's going to be some great players on the waiver wire available for you to stream.
Yeah.
It's nuts. So you could literally, draft yourselves just running backs and wide receivers and not have to worry about anything else if the league gives you the option to do that. If you have to do positional, obviously, then you just go for the best you possibly can. But like CJ said, there's not really any strategy to it. You're not going to get a sleeper that no one knows about, because you only got 8 teams.
Yeah. Your draft's essentially ending in what a normal draft would end around the mid rounds. It's kind of ridiculous. So that's kind of the downsides. The teams are all super stacked. The level of competition is sporadic. You play the same guys all the time, which is not necessarily a bad thing. You get redemption matches, but I don't know. It's not for me. It's not for most serious fantasy football players. I understand if that's your situation, but I would say honestly, maybe try and get some random people in there. I know there's a lot of websites that have people looking for leagues. Join a random league. There's a reason why we say 12-man is the standard. So, hopefully that's helpful. Those are some of the downsides. There's a lot more, but we got to keep moving. Let's go to Andrew in Vegas. He says, I loved your auction information and will be turning to you guys for advice there in the coming month. Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed. You guys talked about Fab recently. Can you talk a bit about Fab, how to approach it, and why you guys like it so much more than waiver priority? Well, do either of you guys want to start off here?
Oh, Jason. Go ahead, Jason.
Sure, I'll take it. So, guys, Fab it gives you the opportunity. It's just like when we're talking about an auction draft as opposed to a snake draft. In an auction draft, you get a shot at every single player. In a snake draft, you get whatever players are left when you get to your pick. With a regular waiver wire, it's the same kind of thing. It goes by waiver wire priority. And if your priority number is not up, you don't get a shot at that particular player if somebody has a higher waiver priority. With Fab, you get a shot at every single person. It's a blind thing, so you don't know how much everybody is putting in. So it comes down to how much you think you need to spend on a particular player, how much you value that player. So it's very much like auction, which is why we linked to. You want to definitely make sure that you save that Fab. You don't want to spend a lot of money on somebody that you don't think you're going to use as a regular player for you. If you stream like what Griffin does, Griffin doesn't go out and spend a lot of Fab money to stream. He streams basic players that he knows that no one's going to grab, and then does that. I do the same thing. And then when someone comes up, like a couple years ago, D'Angelo Williams came up because there was an injury. And I spent my Fab on him, and I was able to get him because I spent more money than everybody else because I knew, hey, this is a starting running back. This is a guy that's going to start at least for a while Le'Veon Bell is down. So you have to make sure you're smart with your money. Don't spend it unless you absolutely need to. There are other options out there, unless it is on somebody that you know for a fact is going to get a lot of touches.
Yeah, I do a lot of that. That's true. I will hold my breath a lot of the time, hoping that certain players clear waivers, and then I will grab them for free. You can do $0 bids as well, but so I'll do a lot of that. Well, not okay. Let me rephrase. You can't always do $0 bids. Your league will be dependent, and the rules are different for every league. So check your league rules. Talk to your league manager. But I'll do a lot of that as well. I'll put in $0 bids so that I can maybe get them right off waivers if my league allows it. But yeah, I try to get those guys for nothing. Because a lot of times you don't have to pay anything. It's just like with your leagues, you might throw a waiver claim at somebody, and you had like the 9th priority, but you get the guy anyway because nobody else did. So you can do that, but then that way, like Jason was saying, I save my money because I can go out there, and if there's a guy who is just a clear opportunity, he blew up one week, maybe he had a really good second week, he looks like the real deal, I know he's not going to be sitting out there for me to just grab during ad drops. I'm going to go out there and spend a lot of money on him, and like we were saying, it is an auction. It's not as visible as an auction draft. It's a silent auction. You go out there, everyone puts their money out there, and then when waivers process on, typically Wednesday morning, whoever put the most money in gets the player. So it's an interesting way for you to add a lot more strategy depth. We actually allow the trading of Fab budget as a way to acquire players from other teams because you'll get players. Like there's a guy in our league of record last year who decided to spend I think he ended up after week one. No. It was after week 1, so it was week 2's waivers, and he spent all of his money on what was his name? Who was your backup running back last year, Jason? Name's escaping me.
Oh my gosh, sorry, I was looking at something. Completely caught me by surprise. I don't even remember.
I can't remember either.
That's how bad it was.
That's how bad it was.
That's how bad it was.
Oh, man, why is the name not coming to me? Holy crap. Anyway, we talked that entire week about, on Tuesday's show for the ad drops, like, don't pick up this guy. He's the guy who's got the clear shot to win, but the starting job, we saw he got an opportunity on after David Johnson went down, but he's not that guy. We're hearing how it's going to be a committee. It's not going to work out. Well, this guy in our league.
Oh, was it Chris Johnson?
It wasn't Chris Johnson.
No.
Chris Johnson.
Owen Williams.
Yes, Williams. That's who it was. He came in. This guy in our league blew 95% of his budget on it. I think he had like $5 remaining, and it came to pass. He didn't do anything all season long, and he was there without any Fab. Well, I was able to make a trade with him later in the season for a couple players plus Fab to acquire one player from him. Now, that's the kind of stuff we do, and you can do in Fab. You have to do that generally through your league manager. It's more work for him because not all leagues allow you to do that, but it's a way to add an interesting wrinkle to your league and your system of doing things. It just adds a lot more depth, complexity, and honestly fun to a league. Fab is undoubtedly, to me, the way to go. CJ, anything you want to add?
I mean, you guys crushed it, man. You guys crushed it. We can move on.
Thanks, buddy. All right, let's go to Josh in Miami, Florida, who says, keeper question, should I keep Stephon Diggs for a 6th-round pick or Sterling Shepard for a 12th?
I think you gotta go Stephon, man.
Stephon Diggs, any reason?
I mean, at the 6, I don't think you're gonna get that talent there as a starting wide receiver, and especially if you're having the hopes and thinking that this is gonna really take off with now Kirk Cousins being in there, I would stick with that. That's what is this Sterling for the 12th? I can find a diamond in the rough in the 12th and then drop Sterling Shepard.
Absolutely. I mean, I looked into the simple thing, and I put this question on here more so as a cautionary tale and for you guys to basically do your homework. Not saying you can't ask us these questions, but Sterling Shepard is currently going in the 11th round, so that's not good value there.
That's what I was going to say.
I know everyone has this perception that he's going as like an early to mid-round pick, and the workload and the opportunity certainly is there, but that's not where he's going right now. So you saving a round on Sterling Shepard is not worth what you would have to pay to get Stephon Diggs, who I think is going as almost a 3rd-round pick. An early 4th-rounder. So it's better value on a higher-tier player, so I would save on Stephon Diggs. It's an obvious choice for me. And Jason, I assume you agree? We're all in unison here?
Yeah, absolutely. Stephon Diggs is going in the 4th round, and getting him 2 rounds later, that's definitely worth it. I mean, like you said, Sterling Shepard is going in the 11th. That's only 1 round worth of value, and it's a late round value. you're getting much better value out of Stephon Diggs. I would definitely go that direction.
I agree. All right, and final question. Let me check the time. Yeah, definitely last one we have time for. We're at 58 minutes. Billy in San Jose, California says, what is your draft strategy for best ball? I am trying it out this year. Well, we're out of time. We could really deep dive this. I would simply say that my strategy is you want to go out there and get yourself some studs, some high floor, higher ceiling type guys. And then once you have that kind of rounded out, instead of going for those PPR, those safe options, anything like that, best ball, they automatically put whoever scored the highest into your starting lineup. Go get those home run hitters. You can load up with a good amount of them with confidence because all you need is one of them to hit. They'll be plugged in and you'll possibly win your week. So I go for elite safe guys in the first couple rounds, and then I just swing for the fences in the mid to late rounds. That's the way I approach it. It's worked out pretty good for me. Of course, you'll get those dud weeks every here and there, but generally it evens out pretty well, and then you have some monstrous weeks that just kind of filter in and out. Do you guys have anything you want to add?
You're the only one that plays it. I don't really play baseball like that.
All right.
Yeah. like what Griffin said, man. You get a couple of floor players for to make sure that you at least have a floor. Then you go out and you grab those boom bust guys. You grab those Julio Joneses and guys like that, because that 1 week he does score ridiculous amount of points. You get those points regardless of whether you start him or not. That's a wonderful thing. You can go out and get like a Paul Richardson, go out and get yourself a Brandon Cooks. Those kinds of guys that are those boom super boom bust players.
Yep.
As long as you get yourself a couple of floor guys, you're good to go.
Absolutely. All right, and with that, we are out of here. So everybody, make sure you tune in on Tuesday. We're going to be starting our rankings. We are going to be talking quarterback rankings. So we talked about these months and months and months ago. We're going to have our updated rankings. That's going to take into account the ads, the moves, the waiver wires. We were going to hold off a little bit more for training camp, but we're getting a lot of requests for these because some people are crazy, and they're starting to draft already. So we're going to go over some of the positions we have more clarity on. We're going to start with quarterback. We might do tight ends after that and throw it out of order a little bit and wait on the running backs and the wide receivers a little bit. We'll see how it all shakes out. But people looking for rankings, we're going to start off on Tuesday with our consensus quarterback rankings. With that, make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening. Follow us wherever you are. Give us a rating, give us a review. Follow us on Twitter at the FF Fanatics. Get your questions answered there. Any parting thoughts, guys?
All right, you guys have a good weekend, and yeah, man, be safe out here, man.
Jason?
Guys are starting to get into the thick of it, man. Start sending us your questions. Start sending us more of this kind of stuff. We love these questions, and we will always answer.
Camps are starting up. It's getting excited. I'm so ready. All right, guys, take care. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday. Bye.